Alrighty, so we are looking at episode 2 of our Class Dojo series on moods and attitudes. Last week, Mojo was very excited because his teacher had announced that they are going on a field trip. However, he got very bummed out very quickly because the field trip was not to the location of his choice. He wanted to go to the Space Museum, but he is frustrated because they're going to the Flight Museum, which he feels will be very boring. So today we're going to see how Mojo decides to deal with that attitude that is happening inside of his head and kind of inside of his heart as well. As always, when we get done, we are going to have some discussion questions that you'll be talking in your breakout rooms with. So please make sure you are focused on the events of this episode so that you can talk about what you saw and what you heard with your friends. All righty, here we go, episode 2. That's kind of quiet. Let's see if I can get that sound up. There we go. All right.
Everyone was excited for the class field trip to the Aviation Museum. Everyone except Mojo. For Mojo had his heart set on a trip to the Space Museum. And now he found himself in a bad mood. He couldn't laugh. He couldn't even manage a smile. His mood was so bad, it was even starting to spread to his friends. Just then, a gruff voice called out, "What's the matter, kiddo? Don't you like airplanes?" It was the bus driver. "Well," said Mojo, "I just really wish we were going to the Space Museum. Space is so much better." "And now, you've made the choice to be in a bad mood about it, huh?" "What? I didn't choose anything," said Mojo. "Moods are like the weather. They come and go, and there's nothing you can do to change it." "Oh, I get it," said the driver. "You're like a helpless little balloon. The wind and rain push you around, and there's nothing you can do about it, right?" "Right," said Mojo. "Wrong," said the driver. "You're not a balloon, kid." I'm not," said Mojo. "No, sir," said the driver. "You're more like the pilot of a plane." Mojo rolled his eyes. Planes were about the last thing he wanted to hear about. But the driver went on. "As a pilot, you could sit there and complain about the weather. But you have a choice. You can choose to steer yourself above the bad weather to sunnier skies." "Ooh, I can steer myself." "That's right, kid. You can steer down deeper into the storm, or you can steer up above the clouds and into sunnier skies." Mojo was delighted to discover a way out of his bad mood, but he had one more question. How do I steer myself? "First, just remember, you always have a choice. Always. Second, and this is the most important thing." But just then, the bus arrived, and the students were hurried off to the Aviation Museum. Now, what do you think? Can you really steer yourself out of a bad mood? Have you ever tried? Now those are interesting questions indeed.
Alrighty. Your first discussion question that you are going to focus on today is, what does it mean to be the pilot of your own emotions? So the bus driver kind of shared an example about how you can control your emotions like a pilot controls an airplane. What does that mean? So what does it mean to be the pilot of your own emotions? I'm going to send you some invites to your breakout rooms for that discussion. Alrighty. So my question to you was, what does it mean to be the pilot of your own emotions? You had some time to discuss that with your groups. What does it mean to be the pilot of your own emotions? Christopher, what does that mean?
It means like when you're calm and controlling of your emotions, like you're not mad or sad.
Yeah, means you have control. You get to choose the way that you respond. It doesn't mean that you don't have those feelings. I might absolutely be upset or angry about something, but whether or not I choose to stay there or whether or not I choose to do something to make it better is completely up to me. So you get to control that. Awesome. What more does it mean to control your emotions or to be the pilot of your own emotions? What does that mean? To be the pilot of your own emotions. Josh, what do you think? What does that mean? You get to be the pilot of your own emotions.
I think that means to control your emotions.
So you're kind of agreeing with him there. You get to control and you have the ability to change or to respond in how you are going to behave and the things you're going to say. All right, awesome. Let's go ahead and look at our second question that you're going to be discussing. Your second question is, what does the bus driver mean when he says, you could sit there and complain about the weather, but you have a choice? You could sit there and complain about the weather, but you have a choice. What does that mean? What does it mean that you have a choice? Okay, I'm going to send you your invites to those rooms. And you are going to discuss this question. What does it mean that you could sit there and complain about a weather, but you have a choice? You were asked, what does the bus driver mean when he says you could sit there and complain about the weather, but you have a choice? What does he mean by that? Is he talking about the physical weather outside, the rain, the snow, the wind? What does he mean by that? Terrence?
He's talking about you have a choice to fly out of the storm or go down into the storm.
Say more about that. If I was going to fly into the storm, what does that mean I would do with my emotions?
You would get out of the emotion and figure out a way to get out of the emotion.
Yeah. So if I was going to get out of the storm, and he's saying a storm because when we have powerful emotions, that's how it can feel, right? Our head can feel very cloudy. It can feel loud. We can be calm and then freak out in an instant, just like a storm can. So we have a choice to go deeper into that storm and to let things get worse and worse and worse in our heads. Or we can say, I'm going to get myself out of this. I'm going to find a way to navigate. It doesn't mean the storm isn't still there. The storm can still be there. Those negative emotions, those powerful emotions can still be there. But whether or not you choose to remain there is up to you. All right, let's take a look at our final question that we are going to discuss. Think about a time you were in a bad mood. What did you do to steer yourself up into sunnier skies or down deeper into the storm? So when you were in a bad mood, think about a time that you said, you know what? I'm going to make this better. Or a time that you said, oh, this is awful. It's just terrible. And you never got better. So think about a time you were in a bad mood. What did you do to steer yourself up into sunnier skies, which means make it better, or down deeper into the storm, which means make it worse? Okay? You're going to share with your group a time that you were in a bad mood and how you made it better or worse. Gordon. You were thinking about a time that you were in a bad mood and you were going to share what you did to make it better or worse. So a time that you were in a bad mood and how did you make it better or worse? I'm curious to hear about some of your responses about a time that you were in a bad mood. When's a time that you were in a bad mood? And it's so hard for me to think that any of you could ever be because you're such sweet darlings, but we all have those moments for sure. When is a time that you were in a bad mood? Liam, how about you, bud? When's a time that you were in a bad mood And were you able to make it better or did it get worse?
It went better.
It got better. And why were you in a bad mood?
Because when my brother was being mean to me, when my brother was being mean to me, he started being mean to me, and then I made it out of my mood, and then I wasn't upset, and I went happy.
And how did you get better? How did you get out of that mood?
I just calmed down. I took a breath, and then I just went back into our room, and then everything was fine.
Awesome. Breathing is a great way to calm ourselves down, and so is taking a break. So separating yourself from the event, kind of going into your own space like your room. Excellent. Levin, what about you, buddy? When's the time that you were in a bad mood?
So when I was playing basketball, at the end of the basketball game, somebody wasn't being a good sport, and so I got pushed at the end. Then I was mad, and I just took a breather.
Okay, so basketball was not going the way that it was supposed to. How did you get, or how did you respond to that bad mood? Did it get better or worse? Worse. Why?
I mean, better.
Oh, it got better? Why?
Because we talked.
Okay, so you communicated. So Ethan needed to not communicate. He needed, or Ethan, sorry, I called you by your brother's name, Liam. Liam needed to not communicate and take a break, and you needed to communicate and to talk about what was bothering you. Awesome. Different situations call for different responses. Aiden G, let's hear from you, buddy. When's the time that you were in a bad mood, and did it get better or worse?
When I wanted to buy my favorite drink, root beer, and my mom said no.
So you didn't
And
get what you wanted. And did your attitude get better or worse?
It got better
How?
when my mom let me buy some gum
Okay.
instead of the drink.
So you kind of had a compromise. You said, I can't get this, but this is okay. So I'm going to change my focus. Awesome. Shifting our focus is another great way to shift our attitudes and moods. Terrence, let's hear from you as our final one. When's the time that you were in a bad mood, and did it get better or worse?
So when I was playing basketball, I was playing with Taylor and Solomon and all of them. I was shooting and they all knocked me down.
And what was your response? Did your attitude get better or worse from that event?
Worse.
Worse. So what happened when your attitude got worse?
Because I got hurt.
Yeah. So sometimes physical pain can cause those things to get worse, and they can be pretty difficult to try to change or adjust because they're a constant reminder. Yeah. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope that what you're gathering from this is that we have the ability to control our responses. We do not necessarily have the ability to control how we feel initially because things hurt, right? Things upset us, things bother us, things stink, and that's okay. But we do have a choice in the way that we choose to respond. We every day make the choice to say, this stinks and I'm going to let it stink and it's going to be awful and I'm going to be in a bad mood and I'm going to be rude. Or we can say, this stinks, this is awful. How can I make it better? What part of this can I control and change? And I'd like for you to make sure that you're focusing on that from the smallest events in your life to the greatest events in your life. How are you going to choose to respond? Okay, remember, you have the ability to control your responses. All right.